All right, welcome back. So we left off with PBL being a package of mindsets and behaviors to promote relevant and authentic learning experiences. And that leads us to, project-based learning, real world learning, learning that we can try to get deep involvement in, and it begs our questions, our guiding questions, to what extent do the students blank? So we started off our driving question earlier this morning was, what do we want from our students? What do we want from them? What do we want them to be? What are our hopes and dreams? That was our driving question for that conversation. So here we have guiding questions that will take us to what extent do the students incorporate the activities and characteristics of PBL. So I've got another quick video to show you here from the Buck Institute of Education that kind of gives us a dumbed down version, if you will, that of course I needed to learn for project-based learning.
You remember what it was like in school. It was boring. Sat in class, memorized as much as you could,
and tried to pass a test at the end. But is that good enough? These days, school can be more interesting and effective by focusing students on work that matters. This is project-based learning explained. Most adults live in a world of projects. Whether it's a job assignment, home improvement, or planning a wedding,
we need to actively solve problems. But unfortunately, schoolwork looks more like this than this. Let's take a look at this project-based world. Meet Claire. She was recently presented with a challenge. Her company, Super Suds, makes soap, and it was up to her to find the most earth-friendly way to produce it in the future. Her boss gave her a budget and a few requirements, and it was up to her to come up with a solution.
She organized and managed a team who researched the options and created materials summarizing the issues.
Claire's team asked for feedback and presented
findings to the boss. Claire came out of the project looking like a rock star, and she learned a lot about green products. If you look closely, Claire's success involved critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, things that aren't often taught in traditional classrooms.
The world needs more Claires. So how do we get them? The answer is project-based learning, or PBL. By focusing students on their project, teachers put them on a path that deepens their knowledge
and builds skills they'll need in the future. Here's what I mean. Mr. Simmons has always been a good science teacher, and his students do well on Friday's tests. Unfortunately, what they learned
was gone by Saturday morning. That wasn't good enough for him. Soon he learned about project-based learning and decided to give it a shot.
Mr. Simmons got the idea for his first project on
microorganisms when half of his students were suddenly absent with the flu. He asked his students
why they thought so many of their classmates got sick at the same time. That lively discussion produced a lot of good questions and a list of things the kids wanted to know. Mr. Simmons then announced their project was to help elementary school kids understand
how can we not get sick. After dividing the class
into teams, he got them started on the project. It was up to the students to ask questions, research, collaborate, give each other feedback, and figure out the best ways to make their points clear to children.
One team chose to make an educational video on the
between hand washing and avoiding the flu. Another
chose to create posters to show how viruses spread. The project teams showed off their final work to an enthusiastic audience of parents and their children at a nearby elementary school. Sitting in the front row was our good friend and local rock star Claire, who saw a bit of herself in the students. It was clear that the project was a success for the students, the audience, and Mr. Simmons. His students practiced critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. The project wasn't about memorization, but learning in depth about viruses and how to prevent spreading disease. A lesson
they will never forget. At the end of the presentation, Claire introduced herself to the students and told them they were rock stars. The world needs more people
who can think like them. To learn more about project-based learning, Go to BIE.org.
Okay, so a good little video there from the Buck Institute of Education. And, the thing that strikes me the most out of that video, is the phrase actively seeking solutions. Actively seeking solutions. That's what we want our kids to be doing in class. It's not just, feed and regurgitate anymore. We want our kids to be learning something with real world applications, something that engages them, something that has meaning and value, as we spoke about earlier in the training. So when we look at PBL, we look a little bit at the general framework, high quality project-based learning framework. And this presentation of high quality PBL, it really is intended to stimulate reflection and conversation about ways that projects can be improved and deepened. We saw the ideas of the hand washing in the classroom, or finding the soap. So the 6 criteria that I'm about to go through with you, were chosen really as just a necessary starting point, for any group that's getting started in PBL, and it's provides student access to quality, high quality PBL, because it's an essential baseline. But again, this is not all encompassing. There are other factors, such as classroom and school culture are important, for the effectiveness as PBL. That's one thing that we obviously, focus on very much, here at GHS. We talk about the school culture. We talk about the classroom culture that each teacher, provides. Those are important things to consider, when you're thinking about, various aspects of PBL. And there are structural conditions. Obviously, you got to have time to plan it, right? And that falls on us, and we as administrators have really made a commitment, because this is what we all agreed upon. We're going to make a commitment to common planning times, for your PLCs, for y'all to really dig deep and collaborate and communicate. You go back into that video, and one of the things that they keep talking about was, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. Well, we want that out of you in your PLCs. And through that collaboration and communication and critical thinking, I can only imagine, it's pretty exciting to think about what y'all will come up with for our students to do. And so we've made a commitment to you to give you that common planning time so that your PLCs can really dig into this and work on it. And we're going to give you flexibility, with grading policies, curriculum delivery, and assessment. There's going to be a lot of questions that will come up in future staffings. Well, how do I grade? Well, the school policy says I've got to have this many grades and this many test grades. How do I assess it? Take a deep breath. It may not be something you've ever heard from an administrator before, but we're going to work with you. Okay, this is new to us. It's new to you. We want you to feel empowered to serve our students. And so we're going to give you some flexibility. We're going to give you the time, and we're going to make this happen. And it's also important to understand that we all have the fundamental belief that all of our students can learn and that they want to learn. We've just got to connect the whys and the what to the who, as we spoke about earlier this morning. Okay, so let's get into the first aspect of PBL, laying the framework here. So we'll start with intellectual challenge and accomplishment. Students learn deeply, think critically, and strive for excellence. So projects should not only be fun activities or hands-on experiences requiring minimal intellectual effort. A high-quality project requires students to think critically about complex problems, questions, or issues with multiple answers, and then go work on a project for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe even a few months to complete the project successfully. Students need to learn important academic content, concepts, and skills. These are those TEKs that we throw into our curriculum. They should also be challenged to produce the highest quality work possible and be guided and supported by us, the teachers, as they try to do so. So when you look at it, to what extent do the students investigate challenging problems, questions, issues over an extended period of time? Are we focusing on concepts, knowledge, and skills that are central to the subject areas and intellectual disciplines? What are those need to knows before they get into those projects? What are the skills that they need to be taught before we move into the project? Obviously with my son mowing the lawn, once he was walking and was strong enough to push the mower, he had the necessary knowledge and skills, to actually, do the work. He just needed to get out there and do it. Experience research-based instruction and support for needed for learning and project success. Okay, so what's out there? This takes a lot of time up front. Just like any big endeavor. Instituting PBL is taking it's going to take a lot of these types of staff trainings to get it going. And it's going to take you a lot of time to kind of get that first thing up off the ground. Okay, but because you got to do the research, you got to figure out what it is that you want to do, what the kids need to know, and then to the students that commit themselves to completing the work of the highest quality. What is the product and what are they putting out there? And then we get into authenticity. Students work on projects that are meaningful and relevant to their culture, their lives, and their future. Again, meaningful and relevant. And we're talking about the whole student here, the culture that they come from. This is, we talked about the classroom culture, the school culture. We need to understand their culture. We have to build those relationships. What's going on in their lives? What are they interested in? All of the connections of the who, the why, and the what have to come into play here. And we've got to be able to motivate students and show them the relevance of what they're learning in school. And projects should be experienced as real, that they're actually doing something. They're producing a product. Okay? High quality project reflects what happens in the world outside of us. Okay? It uses tools and technology and different techniques that can all be found in this project, and that it can make an impact on other people and communities. Okay? And it can connect the interests and concerns of young people. Again, building the connections. And student voices should be heard in a project. They shouldn't be stifled. We're going to be open to different ideas and whatnot throughout this PBL journey that we're taking from you and from others. Be open-minded to your students. Let them be active participants in it. Okay? They should be able to make choices about their work. Fail forward. We've talked about that. Don't be afraid to let them fail, right? It's the only way we learn. Okay? I couldn't go out there when my son was mowing the lawn and be like, hey, you missed a patch right here. I got to let him go out there and miss all those different squiggly lines in the grass and then reflect on what he's done and then go back out and make those corrections. So the extent the students, they're engaged in their work and that makes an impact on the connections beyond the school. That's what we're talking about, the connections that we make beyond the classroom. And it applies to their personal interests and concerns. They're using those tools and techniques that we talked about, and they're getting to have an active voice in what's going on.